What if you woke up in the morning and all of a sudden your hand started becoming sentient and it was like talking to you and had eyes and what the heck?
Sorry to bother you while you're doing your thing here, but I'm your hand.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Do me a favor. Please don't put me on your naughty bits.
Oh.
Oh, no, please don't.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. My name is Alex, and today we're going to do a spoiler-free review of the TV anime series called Parasyte The Maxim, a violent, dark, and sometimes endearing TV series based off the manga. So you're probably here because you're getting ready to watch the Netflix series Parasite The Gray. And you thought, wow, that looks pretty wild and crazy. Yeah, so did I. But, I had never watched the anime, the manga, and all the other stuff that's connected to the series. So I thought maybe this would be a good opportunity to sit down, watch the anime, and kind of get my fill on it. Up front, the series, the anime series that was from 2014 to 2015 has nothing to do with the new Netflix series. It's in the same universe. It's just not anywhere connected to each other. So what we're going to focus on today is specifically just the anime. But first, let's do a little history on what Parasite was to begin with. Parasite was actually a Japanese science fiction horror manga, a comic series that was written and illustrated by Hitoshi Owaki, who did the series from 1989 all the way to 1994. Now, there was some live action movies that came out called Parasite Part 1 and Part 2 that pretty much mirror the same thing as the anime series. And there's even a manga that came out shortly after in 2018 that was called Reversi, Parasite Reversi. So I don't know anything about the live action or Reversi, and I'm only doing this specifically to be able to watch the Parasite The Gray TV series that's coming up. Now, the anime, which we're going to talk about here shortly, is actually from 2014 to 2015, written and directed by someone completely different to adapt to the screen. Now, like any show, there was a lot of directors who actually directed the series, but for the most part, the guy who directed it all was Shinichi Izumi. Now, we had a couple of writing people. Obviously, Hitoshi Owaki's source material from the mangas and the comics was adapted into a screenplay for the TV series by Shinzu Fujita and Shoji Yonemura. Shinzu Fujita actually did work on the Berserk TV series from 97 to 98, so you can imagine some of this is actually some dark material. And Shoji Yonemura actually worked on stuff like Lupin, Death Note, and Kamen Rider on a lot of different TV series. The series follows Shinichi Izumi, who is a senior student at high school who is afflicted and a victim of a parasite that is a failed attempt at trying to take over his brain and somehow gets attached to his arm and his hand instead. It's a talking parasite with eyes and a mouth, and they go on adventures together. It even gives him powers like a superhero. Is the world coming to an end? Will Shin'ichi be a hero? And what is it like to be a human? These are all things that we're talking about in this series that I got to watch. I gotta say, I actually really enjoyed this series quite a bit. This is a fun, violent, graphic, adult series that goes places that deal with what the human condition is and what we are to each other and all the different types of people that we work with and see or visit or travel to or live in different parts of the world or maybe in another galaxy. This is a story that gets pretty dark, very graphic, very bloody. It is not for kids. Although, if I were a kid, I would want to watch the hell out of this. There's obviously some influence from John Carpenter's The Thing and even Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1979. Those are some of my favorite movies that I watch all the time. And this show kind of takes some of the bits from that and turns it into sort of a drama about this young boy who is going through some changes, literal, by a parasite who's taken over part of his body. You know, things start to evolve as we learn about the characters, as the character starts to learn about the parasite and how the parasites are attacking and affecting other people in different ways, and what their purpose is on this planet, what his purpose is on the planet, as many high school students do before they leave school. It's like a microcosm of a macrocosm of what we experience as human beings, and what he's experiencing on a level of a child from high school who's a little bit an awkward kid and is not exactly Mr. Popular, but he's just lacking the confidence, and Migi, which he names his right hand, meaning right, which is the literal translation. The two of them become sort of a symbiote of each other, kind of like Venom is in a way, because you know, Migi isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just has no empathy. It's a parasite. It's a creature. It's not exactly like an animal where it cares about things. It's actually lesser than that in a way. Or is it? There's some things that happen in the story where the parasites evolve, the characters evolve, a lot of the people that he loves and care about have seen better days, and I mean, they die in horrific ways. There is a lot of blood and a lot of gore and graphic stuff going on, mixed with a lot of body horror. Something I've noticed, and you know, I've been reading up on a lot of manga recently. Someone was more than too kind to ship out quite a few mangas from Junji Ito and Kazuo Umetsu and a few others that, you know, it's just kind of opened my eyes that this has been going on for a very long time. It seems that they like to distort and change people in ways that are really kind of crazy and very akin to stuff like The Thing. A lot of this stuff, it seems to kind of be very similar in that regard, I've noticed. And if you guys are ever interested in any of this series afterwards, I'm probably going to be doing a Junji Ito new book review that he just put out. It's a new manga that has a couple of short stories in it. So let me know if you're interested. But yeah, I've noticed that a lot of the Japanese like manga, horror manga, and science fiction stuff really kind of distort and morph people into things and change them. And I don't know if this is necessarily just a cultural thing, but it fascinates me nonetheless. And I love stuff like that, specifically in horror. I like when things, you have no way to define them. A mystery. If you know too much about something, well, you know how to tackle it, beat it, overcome it. It kind of loses its power. So for me, watching this series wasn't necessarily a scary thing, but it was a very interesting series to watch, and it became much more deep than I was ever expecting. Obviously, I kind of got locked into these characters. The characters are, you know, not too young to be kind of too much. Some of these shows can be a little bit on the younger side. This is a little bit more on the adult side. Each episode is about 25 minutes or less. There's about 25 episodes. There's only one season, so it never continued on other than the manga with Reversi. I really do like where it ended up too. The story of the characters and how the parasites evolve, how the people evolve, how people find out about the parasites, and how Shin'ichi sort of deals with all of this, where the parasite starts out as a threatening organism that will kill anything that he tells about its existence. It becomes sort of his friend, and things change and morph as we sort of figure out what the human experience is all about. The art and the animation is really good in this one. It's not done cheaply. I think it's done on a step above. It's not the best I've seen, but it is definitely higher tier. And the storytelling and the pacing of this is fantastic. So the show really does morph from one end to the other. And how it ends is fantastic. I thought it was a really good ending. You know, there's this push and pull with the character Shin'ichi. Early on, we find out that Shin'ichi has this thing in his hand. Typically, what these parasites do is they will implant themselves through the ear or somewhere in through the body and get into the brain and then take over and be the host of this body killing off whoever it was underneath. And some of them have different side effects with different characters who they infect. Creatures that have no emotion, no empathy, no sympathy for anybody, human life, or anything. And some of them have different reactions to the different bodies that they take over. Some of them can evolve into many complex versions of themselves, multiple versions in one, etc. It really gets very interesting how each of these parasites kind of moves on and how each of the characters kind of deal with it. The show really forces you to kind of put yourself in the perspective of each side of the puzzle. Hell, there's parasites that take over animals in this. Nothing wrong with that. But yeah, if you're interested in watching a new series, I mean, you know, at 20 minutes each episode, you're looking at quite a few hours. Definitely was glad to have this on disc, which this was donated to me by Resolution 67. So thank you for that. Highly recommend watching this. I would probably give this show like an 8.5 out of 10. If you like The Thing, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and then maybe something a little bit on the deeper dramatic side, but also super graphic, violent, and dark, because when people die, it's pretty sad. You can actually check it out, by the way, on Crunchyroll, Hulu, or Disney Channel. Any of those subscriptions, you can watch it for your subscription price. So there's a lot of stuff I could talk about in this show, but ultimately I think it is a very positive experience, and I'm glad to add this to my collection. And I'm looking forward to checking out the show of Parasite the Gray. Have you seen this show? Have you ever read the mangas? Like, what do you think about Parasite? Are you excited for Parasite the Gray to come out? I would love to hear all your thoughts on the mangas, the TV series, the movies, if I should do the live action films. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. But thank you guys so much for coming by, and as always, long live the void.
Beyond